Okay. Let me just bring up these cameras. There we go. All right. So we got a lot to talk about over the week. We've been talking about Black health, and as you know, many of us know folks directly or indirectly that have passed away, whether it was from cancer, heart attacks, and a lot of it just has to do with the toxins in our body, the foods we eat, the water, the bad air. And as a real estate broker, I showed a house a couple of weeks ago. In the bathroom, you look in the ceiling, it's filled with mold. Outside the bathroom, mold. In the bedroom, mold. And I asked the agent, I said, is the owner sick? It's just things like that. The chemicals that we use to clean the house, you breathe in those toxins. So a lot of folks have been passing away lately, man. And like I said, man, it's a problem. And if you ask me, Rich, it's an emergency, man, because every week, every other week, every month for the past, since COVID, actually, man, this has been happening. So we wanted to, have a show and talk about Black health. We know that this affects everybody from all walks of life, but it's pretty rampant in the Black community. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Please, I want you to introduce to you this beautiful young lady here. Give a big round of applause for Dr. Bronte. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys today?
Good. Let's just get right to it because and first of all, let me just say too, I am not a doctor. I have no type of medical science degree, neither does Rich. And just to begin with, doctor, can you just kind of like tell folks, give them your credentials?
Yes. So my name is Dr. Bronte. My background is in public health and extreme medicine. I completed my doctorates in medical science at Northeastern, and I also attended the University of Lynchburg, and I completed my doctorates in executive leadership. Currently, I'm working on my doctorates in health science at the University of Nottingham in the UK. I've also did some coursework in South Africa. So I'm a kind of a nerd. I like to do a lot of research. My work is centered on prevention, chronic disease, and health disparities, especially in the African American community. I want to be very explicit. I do not diagnose, nor do I treat individuals. So I just want to make sure that we are on the same page in this setting. What I do is translate what's happening in the body and what leads to disease and how lifestyle, environment, and in many cases, herbal health is actually something that stemmed way before Western medicine, if you guys agree with me. And so I want to make it explicitly clear that these things do help. We weren't getting sick like this. And now all of a sudden, we have a crisis. Because what we're seeing right now, like you guys said, is people are dying. They're dying at a high rate, and especially in the African American community.
All right.
We have increase in diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, and even attention disorder in our children. This didn't happen overnight. There's a pattern, and we have to talk about them honestly today.
Right. And, you mentioned the ADHD, and I just find it kind of crazy that over the years, families who have children, right, you often hear, no matter what circle you're in, my son is being tested or my daughter's being tested for ADHD. And it's become so common, we've gotten used to it, and no one's really asked the question why. And a lot of it does have to do with the food. I know the food coloring, whether it's blue dye, red dye, a lot of that stuff causes ADHD. And it's the food coloring in everything that our kids eat, the snacks that we give them for lunch in school, the cereal they eat for breakfast in the morning time. And I'll just say real quick, and we'll just get right into it. We talked about the app weeks ago. Rich hit me to it. I know you use it. The Yuka app.
The Yuka app.
Yep.
YUKA.
Yep. Download it in your app store. It's free. When you go to the supermarket, I promise you will be very happy in terms of what you're trying to bring home and put at your kitchen table. So with that being said, I guess we should start. I guess let's talk about prevention. Cancer's a major killer in the community. What are some of the things that folks can do outside of the traditional? I know with cancer, people often go to the doctor, and the first thing they talk about is chemotherapy, which I believe does not work. In fact, I believe the numbers say it says it only works like 3% of the time. So, so what are some of the things that people can do outside of chemotherapy being their first choice?
So some of the first choices is lifestyle. What we have to understand is that we're taking in food that is definitely harming us and it's chemically altering our cells. And so when you start looking at that, we have the highly processed food. We're quick to run to pick up food from McDonald's, Burger King, and all those places. And then we eat cold cuts, which is processed meat. So when you start off, if you start changing the way you eat, like back in the 70s, we didn't have all this stuff. It wasn't crazy. It's out of control right now.
Oh, yeah.
Also, we fill in our body with different additives, that our body doesn't recognize, fake food, bioengineered food. We also have chronic stress, poor eating habits, lack of movement. We're not in the gym physically working out. We're not doing a lot of things that our body has been trained to do, or our ancestors have taught us to do over time. And when this happens, the body starts staging itself to build up inflammation, like instant insulin resistance and vascular strain and gut dysfunction, and all these things starts to cause diseases to set in. So when we talk about cancer, cancer is not one single disease. Cancer is different. It goes to different areas in the body. It's a group of conditions where cells lose control and how they grow and behave. So
Right.
cells are supposed to grow. They perform their function within the body and then they die. And that's how it's supposed to be. So when you start talking about cancer, the cells are continuing to grow. They don't die. And then they start spreading to different areas of the body, which now it's out of control. And if we don't pay attention or to what we eat or go see a doctor, and sometimes when we go see a doctor it's too late, right? The environment is a huge contribution to it. Like I said, chronic inflammation, toxin burdens that we have in the body based on the stuff we're eating, a weakened immune surveillance system that's not working, and poor cellular repair process. So these are some of the things that are the root problems, that causes cancer. But if we start changing how we eat, then we can kind of, fix this problem before it gets to it. We can fix it before it becomes the problem, and I don't see a lot of us doing that. I think what's happening in our community, there's lack of education.
Right. Right. So, I mean, with that being said, again, working out, going to the gym always helps, but changing the eating habits, taking that Yuka app, knowing that what you're bringing home, knowing what causes cancer, you got to start there. Because I'm telling you, when Rich introduced it to me only about a month ago, and I was amazed. I first started scanning everything in the house. I was just amazed at all the things that caused cancer that I already had in the house. So folks, I think you need to start there, knowing what you're putting in your bodies, the chemicals, the additives that causes cancer, ADHD, and so on. So what's the first thing someone should do right now? Because over time, we're just getting hip to this. We've already been putting these chemicals in our body. What can we do from this day, beginning today, in terms of, I don't know, maybe herbal medicine, or of course, going to the gym always helps. Drinking water always helps. Vegetables.
Some people seem to think, doctor, fasting is something that will repair our cells.
Fasting is good, but here's the thing. A lot of people talk about, yeah, we're going to fast. But with fasting, it comes with consistency. What a lot of people are doing is they're going in and they're saying, oh, okay, I'm going to go fast. Okay, oh, I'm going to juice. Both of them are good. But if you don't fix your diet, it means nothing. It's just so it's basically a waste of your time and your body's time because listen, if you're juicing but still putting ultra, processed foods and all the stuff, excess sugars and artificial, ingredients into your body, you're not changing the environment that led to the problem in the first place. You're entertaining that environment, as I would say right now. But if you want to be effective, you need to you stop eating so much meat, because I know a lot of us eat meat, but we don't know where that meat comes from. We don't know the cancers and the diseases that are in the meat before they hit the supermarket. And even when they hit the supermarket, half of that stuff is, toxic. So you want to try to increase your diet, which is, vegetable based, lower your sugar intake. Use this to support the body, not replace meals for long term. And it also should be, vegetables should be really a huge part of our everyday diet. And that's something that I noticed that we've we've pushed away. I see a lot of people eating potatoes, high carb foods, which really aren't that good for us, like rice, which is not great for us either,
Exactly.
unless it's long grain. So you want to continue to get your metabolic system to reset, but also let your cellulars repair. And that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand when you are, fasting and juicing and all this stuff, because if you're not incorporating those things into your diet, then it's just a waste of time, because your body is like, okay, let me do a quick reset, but then you go back to the same thing. So if you do a reset and you start changing your diet, and you start being consistent and reducing those processed food and limiting all these additives, and stay hydrated, which is one of the most important things, because a lot of people juice and you're taking vegetables and you're taking the minerals and the nutrients from the vegetables or the fruit that you're taking, but then, you're not still hydrating your body properly. You're maintaining a regular healthy diet. So if you try to do this, and you want to be effective, you have to change the way you're eating. You can't just do this and think that everything's going to be okay, because juicing also, it takes away a lot of inflammation. It cleans out the digestive tract. It normalize the metabolic balance. So these are things that we need to really pay attention to.
Doctor, I have a couple of questions. I
Mhm.
was discussing this with Steve before we came on air. Now,
Mhm.
when we look at the food industry, you have different types of scientists. Now, you have the scientists on the end where they produce food, like processed food,
Mhm.
even McDonald's, where I guess a burger is only a certain amount of it is real pure beef. The rest of it is fillers. I
Mhm.
told Steve, you have scientists, because I've read books, you have
Mhm.
scientists that actually help these corporations produce the food. And you read stuff and it says long-term use of this can cause cancer or diabetes or heart disease. Now, these are scientists developing this food that's bad for us. Then, when we get sick over the course of time, over our lifespan, we have the other scientists treating us at the end, giving us medicine that's going to help cure us or help treat it and keep us alive. To me, that's kind of a big hypocrisy across the board when you have people that go to school, study, they're scientists and they're all knowledgeable, but you have them working on different ends of the spectrum. How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I think it's a conflict of interest, because you got to remember, we live in the United States. Our food is half but regulated. So they're going to feed us garbage. They're
Yes.
feeding us plastic. They're feeding us chemicals that are supposed to be used in cleaning agents. They're doing a whole lot of things that I personally feel that are unethical compared to going over to the UK. No, like I said, I'm doing studies in the UK. My company is also in the UK, and that company is BitBio, which they create nanobites for cancer and different
So you're
diseases.
telling me we're not too much better than China when it comes to regulations, even though we say we're more regulated. So when I use the Yuka app and I see things that's banned in other countries, when I
Mhm.
scan stuff in the supermarket, and I'm saying, why is this even in this? Why is this as part of the ingredients? And a lot of it is for the shelf life, because that's a big thing. They like to be able to keep
Well, that's
stuff
what
on
they
the
say.
shelf.
That's what they tell
That's
us.
what they say.
Yeah,
That's depopulation, baby, right there. I'm gonna tell you right now. We're one of the companies. Our country, the stuff that they're doing to our food is just not of God. And when you go to the UK and you see the quality of food, they have warnings. They don't tolerate all these dyes in the food. And if there are dyes in certain foods, you have to let the people know that these dyes contain X, Y, and Z, and this is harmful to the health. So they let you know. But when I'm there, the food's good. It doesn't make you sick. I didn't get sick there. I didn't have any issues with diabetes, high blood pressure. I had nothing, and I was battling cancer when I was over there, with my travels. So I felt more healthier eating in the UK than eating in the US, because now I got to figure out what I'm eating, who's cooking my food. Is it farm? Is it wild caught? Stuff like that. So with our Yuka app, and I was introduced, I think a year and a half ago from my daughter. My daughter's she's a clinician. She said, "Hey, mom, put this on your phone so we know what we're eating." And so, like you guys, I'm scanning everything. And when you go into that app tells you everything that is in that food, and it will also give you warnings like, "This is not good for you. You shouldn't eat this, or you shouldn't eat that." Like, so what I do is I try to stay like 70 and up, which is the green zone. And so I know that food's healthy, and then I'll just scan other foods alike, and it'll be 90. So I'll just go with the 90s section, because I'm like, listen, I know this food doesn't have all these chemicals. I know I can eat healthy and not worry about, liver failure, kidney failure, high blood pressure, diabetes. And it's scary, but they don't care. I honestly think that they just don't care, about what we're eating in the US. So we have to advocate for ourselves.
I think in the end, it's a business,
Yeah, it is.
And if you think about the way it's working, they're putting the bad chemicals in the food, right? We get sick. What do we do? We go to the doctor. And then what do the doctor do? He prescribes medications, and that medication over the years has gotten extremely expensive. So someone's making a lot of money off of this. And me, it's a game. Like you said, it's a conflict of interest. You got the Food and Drug Administration,
they're in bed with the pharmaceutical companies.
Right. And then you got the lobbyists who lobby for certain things, and they get what they want pretty much. So it's a hard battle at the end of the day for us to fight. But I think awareness is everything. I think prevention, the information we're talking here today is going to help a lot of folks. But let me ask you about herbal medicine. Like, how does that differ from like traditional medicine? And I kind of know the answer, but for those who might be listening for the first time and hearing about this.
So herbal medicine is the original medicine. That is what was on earth. That's what God gave us. That's what the Native Americans, the West Africans lived off. They didn't live off Western medicine. When you got sick, they went and they conjured up the medication, that the leaves, the herbs, the roots, and that's how they lived to be. Like my great grandmother's from the Blackfoot tribe, and they lived off the earth. My mother didn't get sick when she was a kid. My grandmother didn't get sick when she was a kid, because they lived off the earth, and they used different roots. Like, for instance, when I was diagnosed with endometrial cancer, 4 years ago, because I've been 1 year remission now, and I battled it for 3 years. I got treated, came back, got treated, came back, until the last time I said enough is enough. I started doing my research. I started looking at soursop. A lot of people don't realize soursop is really good, but you have to be careful about dosage, and a lot of people don't understand dosage is very important, because you don't want to overdose, because it can cause other side effects. And cat's claw, black seed oil, which kills everything but death. And that black seed oil has saved my life, because I've used it for my cancer. I used it for my diabetes. I used it during the pandemic. As we all know, that was gold for the pandemic, because everybody used black seed oil. My daughter would make
it's very good for your immune system, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I've taken it for a while too. That was one of the things I took during the pandemic. And, it was all about building up your immune system. And if you came in contact with people, a lot of times you didn't get sick,
You didn't.
Now
But
it's
also, Steve, 1 second. We
yep.
talk about burdock root. Burdock root is a very consistent across traditional systems. Some of the roots I looked up are global. This is not just roots in the United States, roots in the Caribbean. These are roots across the whole globe. And burdock root was a good one because it purifies the blood, it supports the liver, and it helps the body process and eliminate waste. A lot of that stuff is waste just sitting in our system, like cat's claw. It's another important one. It's the Amazonian tradition, and it's for the immune system, and it's an internal defense mechanism that helps the body, and it rids it of the unnecessary stress and all that stuff, and so and also incorporate. I'm a turmeric ginger junkie. I have my 3 weeks on, 1 week off. So I take that, and it supports the inflammation balance, and it's a good for digestion, circulation, and inflammation. And these are some of the things that we have in our body when we have some of these diseases, especially cancer. There are other like sea moss, how's it say, uh, I can't say the name of it, but it's something that I take every other day.
Turmeric, turmeric.
Astragalus. I'm sorry,
You're right
astragalus.
about the turmeric. That's very good for inflammation.
Mhm.
I was telling Steve, I actually have a book on herbs, and it tells you what African holistic medicine. Dick Gregory recommended it. The book's a very old book. It's been around for years, and everything that you're saying, the herbs in this book, it tells you exactly what everyone is good for, and
Yes.
it goes back into time and tell us how medicine was before all the research came about, and big pharma and just pushing drugs on us for everything. Every time we go to the doctor, there's a new drug for us, and that's what it's all about. It's a big industry, but everyone wants a quick fix.
But you know what? If we're not consistent with what we're eating, this becomes the biggest problem. Like I said, I feel that in our community is a lack of education and information to our people. We have to really change how we eat. Like I remember vegetable oil was the thing. What was it? Lard back in the day
Yes.
lard was the thing that our parents used. They
Yes.
transitioned out of lard and it went into vegetable. That we found out was bad for us. Then we went to canola. That was bad for us. And I'm like, so they're just cycling us through all these
Yes.
oils that really it's like a clog. They're clogging us. So now I use, olive oil. I use 100, or avocado oil, and I use them sparingly. I try to stay away from the butters and stuff because yes, we all love butter, but I really try to, incorporate different things like regular milk. My mom grew up on goat milk. I drink goat milk. I think
Yes.
goat milk is very healthy. And after being diagnosed with cancer and fighting cancer, and then having, in the midst of that, getting type 2 diabetes, and them trying to throw metformin on me, I'm like, I'm not taking that mess. I worked in the hospitals. I was in those medical directors meetings. I'm not going to say the institution for, safety purposes, but I've sat in those meetings and had big pharma coming in and say to these doctors, if you prescribe this prescription to the person, we'll pay you $50, $100, $1,000, $500. And I'm sitting up there like, you're killing us because you're pushing medicine. And the doctors are like, yeah, we'll do this. These are medical doctors. And so they, I've had one doctor tell me a prescription, like I told you guys the other day, that I was taking for my diabetes, and it's lasting. She said it wasn't going to cause blindness. I called her. I said, hey, I'm having issues with my vision. Oh no, it'll go away. So what I did is I went, and I suggest everyone on this podcast too who's listening, go on the manufacturer's website, look up these drugs, go down and look at the side effects. You will see all this stuff. Like we talked about with Wegovy. What is happening? Wegovy is causing people to have gallbladder removals. I have a relative who had
That's
one.
true. I know.
Yes.
I know a couple of people that took it, and they've had problems, had to get the gallbladder removed because they think that it's a quick fix, and they want to go on and off it. They don't want to do the real work, going to the gym, changing their eating habits.
Yep.
They came out with it, and the sad part is, I haven't heard one person say it, but I'm gonna say it. The athletes,
Mhm.
the entertainers, you got Serena Williams, you
Mhm.
got Charles Barkley, Shaq, those guys, and a lot of the athletes and entertainers, they're promoting this. So I'm looking
and
at
they're
them
getting paid a lot of money to
like
promote.
you got, exactly, Steve. They're making a lot of money. They're promoting it, and when you see Serena Williams, who was a world-class athlete,
Healthy.
she's in great shape. She was in great shape when she played tennis in the younger days. She put on weight over the years as she got older, but now she's promoting it. And I'm like, come on, guys, you were the world-class athlete. You could diet, you could exercise. Now you're telling mainstream America to take this drug now. I don't think it's right.
I don't think it's right either, Steve. And I think, the problem is, and then like I said, my daughter was taking the Wegovy, and I said, you need to stop taking that stuff. It's insulin. If you're not diabetic, why are you taking that? Do you know it is killing your liver? Your liver is connected to your gallbladder. Once your gallbladder is gone, this is tearing up your liver. It's tearing up your spleen. Now you're going to be, adapt a codependence. I spoke to a young lady recently who is, she's in stage 4 liver failure. And she was taking it. And I'm like, I have my gallbladder removed and now I'm in liver failure. I says, well, you guys are not looking at the fine print. It's causing stomach paralysis. It's not a good fix for people. This stuff is insulin made to do one thing, but it's causing multiple problems in other areas. So, like I said, it's all about educating yourself before you take that initiative, because the doctors are selling that product. They're selling it for the pharmaceutical companies, and now what you're doing is you're taking something into your body because you're listening instead of doing the homework, doing the research, saying, hey, I'm not going to take something that's telling me it's going to cause me stomach paralysis, blindness, heart disease, kidney failure. I'm not taking that mess. So it's all about educating yourself and, finding out if this is a good fit for you before you decide to take medication, because they've been pushing medication off on us a long time, even with the other medications that became an issue in a certain community. Let me just put it that way. And it was meant to cause problems in our community, but it ended up causing problems in their community. And that's when it was called opiate epidemic.
Well, there was a company that paid out a lot of money. One of the big pharma companies paid out a lot of money. I think it was like 500 million. And the research on opiates was that the Oxycontin, that it wasn't addictive. And what you saw was what it caused. It was highly addictive, and we're still feeling effects, across all ethnic lines. With that being said, so that's another case of big pharma coming out with something saying it wasn't addictive, and the doctors was pushing opiates on everybody. If you just had I had a sciatic nerve problem once, and they were trying to give me opiates for it. So they will push that stuff on you.
Yeah. Even with fentanyl, when I had my last surgery for my emergency gallbladder removal, the doctor, and I said, I don't take drugs. You can give me a Toradol shot. That's as far as we go. And they were like, you're going to be in a lot of pain. I don't care. I don't want to wake up feeling like I can't control myself. I like to be in control of my body. And when I came to, I was so sick and so high. And I turned to her and I looked at her, I said, who gave me fentanyl? And she said, yeah, we had to give. I said, we didn't. I clearly signed it not to give me that drug. And it, I didn't get an addiction to it, thank God, but I didn't want it in my system at all, because I just know from working and seeing and hearing these things, in healthcare, it wasn't a good thing. And it's almost like you set people up for failure when you give them things that they know they don't want.
And opiates are highly addictive. Everyone has a different, how can I say this, a different level of how they could back off away from something. Some people are just mentally weak, and not putting anyone down, but some people can get addicted to an opiate within like 5 or 6 days.
They have sensitivity to the drug, and so we have a strong resistance. Like I have a strong tolerance to anything. I can't tolerate that. That stuff makes me sick to some people like to feel that way. I don't want to feel high. I want to feel in control of my body, and some people's sensitivity level on drugs are different. Like us, we're very sensitive. We don't like the feeling, where other people have a high tolerance. So they want to get high because they want to feel that. So,
I mean, there was a time they were giving us opiate Percocets for when we went to the dentist.
Yes.
And now dentists don't even give you that anymore. But it's amazing how they had to change because they found out this was big pharma just pushing these drugs out there, and people were kind of waking up to the situation, you know.
And they also just didn't do anything when it came down to it just being put in our community, but when it spread to adjacent communities
Yes.
of wealth, that's when it became an opiate epidemic.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
You're 100% about that. Well, now it becomes there's a war on drugs now. We have to do something about these drug prices.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, it's
So
sad.
what are we doing about methadone mile? So what are we doing about that? Because my daughter works
Well,
down in it. She works for Boston Public Health, and
well,
it
I
is
said for
horrible
years.
down.
I said for years, someone's getting a big check for that.
Yeah, because they're
Someone's
putting
gonna
the
be
drugs in the community. That's
right,
what they're doing.
right. And
Yeah.
so, you know, like I was gonna say, man, it's sad because it's really all about money.
Yeah.
It's about money.
Yes.
They're making a
Yes.
lot of money off of people getting sick. They're making a lot of money off of the drugs. Now, earlier you mentioned you took soursop. Now,
Yes.
can you get that in the United States? I didn't think you could get that. Here.
Yes, actually, guess what? You can actually find it in Whole Foods. The Whole Foods in Dedham has it.
And it's the real soursop.
Yep. It's
Oh,
the real soursop. You can also
you got
find it in
tropical foods.
Yep, Tropical Foods
Oh,
and
yes.
American Food Basket in Hyde
Yes.
Park. You can find it
Yes.
there. So I found it, but I got a lot of my soursop. Thank God I have friends who travel to the Caribbean more than I do. But I got it when my girlfriend got me some when she went to Jamaica. When I went to Barbados with my son, I got some, last year. So I like the actual leaves because I can steep it and make a tea. The fruit is good. I buy the fruit. And here's the thing, you still can buy soursop minus the fruit because they have the actual fruit now. It's expensive, but it's worth it. It's not like it is in Florida, the big ones, but you can buy them. Goya has one. Another company, I have it in my refrigerator. I can't tell you the name of it. It comes in this big thing, and you just take the seeds out. You throw it in a blender, and then you can I mix like a little bit of condensed milk. I use some vanilla. I throw a little cinnamon in if I want, do that, and nutriment, and I make a smoothie, and I put in the refrigerator, and I'll drink it. So there are different ways you can make. You can ingest soursop. But I was on the soursop. I have the pills. I took the soursop. I was diagnosed. The last time I was diagnosed was in October of 2024. Because we're in 2026. And I remember saying, Jesus Christ, God, I says, what is going on? I battled cancer for 3 years straight. I found out on my birthday, and I battled it straight. And it's coming back. So I went into, like I said, I started taking that soursop. I started taking the cat's claw. I started taking even bitter melon. I started taking every root, but the black seed oil, I'm telling you, it's just something about that black seed oil. Because when I came in for treatment, when I had to come back in for my final testing and start treatment in January, they couldn't find cancer. They said they don't know what it is. We cannot find it. And I was strict. No meat, vegetables, like no starch. I just was juicing my behind off. I was keeping a good diet. And I lost a lot of people didn't understand. I had lost so much weight at one point. No one saw me because I was fighting this disease privately with the people who are close to me and with my medical team. I did the chemo, lost all my hair, lost weight, fought that. At one point, I didn't think I was going to live. I was trying not to get emotional because it was stage 4. I was crying. I was like, God, I have, four beautiful kids. I have 2 grandkids. I don't want to die. But I felt like throwing the towel in because the poison kills you. It definitely beats you down. And it's like, it's not getting to the root cause of the problem. Yeah, it goes through your system. But if you let one single cell escape, that stuff is coming back again. And that's what I found was happening.
So knowing what you went through with the chemo and all that and everything right now with all the natural stuff, what are your honest thoughts on chemo? I know we talked about it briefly earlier. I don't think it works, but you went through it. So what are your thoughts on it?
I think that chemo is different. Chemo is dumping poison into the body that's already struggling, right? We're struggling. We're trying to live from this disease, right? And it's not really doing a lot. It tears down the body. So the body is battling cancer. You throw the chemo in there, and it's not really killing it the way it should. and the environment's a whole cluster, you know what? So
And
it's
not to interrupt, but everyone I know that have taken chemo in my lifetime, close friends, family, or whatever, it makes them really weak. And even after they kill all the cancer cells, they're so weak trying to bounce back from it. And the cancer goes into remission. And, I've had a couple of family members where it came back very strong when the cancer came back.
Yeah, it comes back more aggressive.
Yes. One of the things I want to say that you said, almost everyone that I've seen that have beat cancer and it went into remission and stayed into remission, it was always someone that changed their diet, stopped eating meat, but for some reason, conventional medicine doesn't promote this. But everyone that I've read about, I've heard do like documentaries, it was always taking meat out of their diet. Why don't people understand this, and why don't they take this to heart when they have cancer?
So let me jump in. So what do you think when scientists is doing research? What animals do you think scientists are using? Because I remember working in Dana-Farber. Way before years, they use pigs,
animals, monkeys,
pigs,
cows,
anything they can use. And so I don't know if you guys remember, a long time ago, there was a thing in North Carolina where they was doing experiments on pigs. They were testing pigs for cancer, trying to do different stuff. And when the pigs died, they was taking the pigs, they was blending them up, and they was feeding them to the pigs. Now, what happens is now you just fed these pigs cancer, because pigs eat everything. They eat their crap. So now you take the pigs to the slaughterhouse, you slaughter the pigs come to us. What do Black people eat a lot? Pork.
Pork, yeah.
Pork. We eat beef, but think about it. I've seen shows and even research how cows have cancer. They'll cut around the cancer. You see the tumor,
and still throw the out for production. Out, still throw the meat out there. Yes,
that's setting us up for any and every disease that we can get. So the thing about it is I have a lot of friends who don't eat meat. I mean, even chicken now. Chicken is just like one of those touch and goes. I'm kind of like off the whole meat kick. I'm doing more seafood in my life. I do eat chicken here and there, but it's really scary because you don't know what you're eating. We're getting food that's being tampered with in every which way but loose. The food be going back. Like I was just in Costco's and I picked up a pack of meat for my son-in-law, and I said, this is old meat. You can see how they bleached the meat and put red dye in the meat. And I'm like, but the meat's rotten right here. And we were looking and we just threw it to the side. So I'm not buying no meat for you. You got to buy your own meat.
Yeah, because me and Steve was talking the last couple of weeks. I was telling him about the organic chicken and also the kosher chicken. And there's one chicken, it comes from like Pennsylvania, and the Quakers in Pennsylvania, I was telling Steve, they raise all of their own food. They're raising on farms, they're raising their chickens, they're raising their cattle, everything. They're growing their own vegetables. These people live like a 1700. They don't even have electricity.
Is that the Amish?
The Amish, yes.
I've been to their village before.
Yeah, the Amish. Have you ever come in contact with any of them?
Yes, actually, I follow this Amish woman, and she's really funny. I don't know if it's AI generated, but I do follow her, and she talks about how the food that we're getting is contaminated and how they grow their own food and they live off. And actually, my sister-in-law,
they don't even have electricity.
No.
They don't watch TV. I mean, if you study them, I mean, it's amazing. And they're really healthy people.
Yes. They live off, they make their own butter. They have their own cows, which are healthy cows that they're eating healthy, not like our cows being fed all this trash.
Yes. Chickens, they raise them on chickens.
Yes.
The eggs, the chickens, everything, the dairy, everything's just natural from the land, You
got to remember, Native Americans didn't eat a lot of chicken. They eat turkey. A lot of the swine and stuff was brought over here from England. We didn't have all that bad food. We didn't even have any diseases. Think about it. We had no diseases here in the United States. We didn't have any of this mess. When they came from overseas, with
They
the
bought pigs.
smallpox blankets and
Yes.
the disease and the
Yes.
rats and the chickens and the pigs and all
Yes.
that. That's when Native Americans started getting real sick. They were the most healthiest people because they lived off the ground. They
Right.
Yes,
they
they
grew
did.
their food from the ground. You know, the animals they had were they grazed off the earth. They didn't have all these chemicals. They didn't
Yeah.
spray stuff.
Yeah,
We're living
100%
in a
about that.
chemically,
Yeah, pigs actually came from Europe. I read that. We didn't
yep.
even have pigs in America. That's
We're
kind of
living
strange.
in a chemically infested country. That's
Yes.
because they spray chemicals down, chemicals every now they there's recent study things where people came from China bringing in different bugs like bees, ticks and stuff. I mean, getting caught and I'm like, why are you bringing this into our country trying to mess us up? I mean, some of them ticks are so teeny you don't see them, you know,
Yes.
and it's scary right now because you know I do have dogs at my other house. So it's just like, you know, we're in a place where we have to be very careful, you know, where we go, what we eat, what, especially what we drink, especially our water. And that's something we didn't touch on, the water. If you haven't noticed throughout the city of Boston, they're taking out the old water system, the old, what are those things that they
Those
have in the
pipes,
ground?
yeah,
Yeah.
they were upgrading the pipes a few years ago. It's kind of funny. I looked down in a hole once and I sat there and talked to a couple of the guys. They were taking out the pipes that were from the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they put those in,
Mm-hmm.
and they were putting new pipes in because those pipes was rusted and decayed and stuff.
Corroded.
Some
Nah.
of them, they were shooting a chemical through to coat them.
Yep.
But if you go under the original pipes, they had wooden pipes, and the
Mm-hmm.
wooden pipes actually lasted longer
Okay.
because once, the long as they're not hitting the oxygen in the air, those
Yep.
pipes will last. So originally we had wooden pipes,
Mm-hmm.
and now they started upgrading because these pipes are so rusted and decayed. But they didn't replace all of them; they only replaced stretches of them throughout the
Yes.
city.
Yes. And you know, it's funny because I think we really need to be smart and do filters because the water
Yes.
is definitely messing with our skin. You got to remember our skin absorbs anything. I don't even drink my water in my house. I buy water, you know,
Right.
because I just don't feel comfortable. And I just told my daughter, we got to figure out a way to put filters on all the water systems in the house because I said, there's something wrong with this water. If you go to other countries, the water doesn't tear up your skin like it tears it up here.
Well, you
When
have
I
to
was
remember our water, our sewage systems. People don't understand this. Our toilet water and our water in the kitchen, it all goes into the same system,
and
and
it gets filtered out.
they,
No.
they clean it and everything. It's kind of crazy to think about it, but
Mm-mm-mm.
the toilet water and the water in your house, your bath water, everything ends up in the same
System.
system, you know.
That's
And
why
it,
they didn't want us throwing narcotics or old pills down the
yes,
drain system because
yes.
I've done it before. I'm guilty of doing it a long time ago. I didn't
Well,
know
that's
any
why when
better.
you go to other countries, they don't have sewage systems and the water tastes so good. Like you go to Jamaica or these other countries, there's
Yeah.
not really a sewage system. So that's why it's different.
Yeah. And well, I think the well water was in some towns in Massachusetts is the best water. I mean, yeah, you still want to put the filtration, but it's safer than, you know, city
Listen, I was
water, to
born
be
in
honest.
South Carolina. I remember with my grandmother going to the well, and I remember pumping that pump and bringing up well water. There was no sewage. And listen, that's some of the best tasting water you could ever taste, you know?
So I wanted to just throw this out because I think this is really important, and for those who can and are interested in, you know, looking. I work for a company called BitBio, and it's a leader in synthetic biology. They don't build mechanical robots; they treat the human cells like computers. So their nanobites, they go into the system and they attack the cancer without hurting the body, you know. So they have the optic ox tech that allows them to recode stem cells into specific human cells, and it's 100% consistent, you know, off the bat. The oncology angle is, instead of, you know, dealing with dumbass chemo, excuse my language, everybody, because that's what I call it, you know, because it tears you down. The IO cells are used to, it's like engineered to, you know, go into the cells. It's like the T cells, and reprogram and hunt and kill cancer. There are options other than chemo. Chemo's
Now, is this available in the US or this is
nope,
outside the US?
UK.
Wow.
United Kingdom. So, remember we were talking the other day, and the 3% point, chemo fails because it's blunt. It's a blunt
Radiation,
instrument.
right?
Yep. It's when I tell you the options you have overseas, 100% better than the options you have here. I'm being very transparent.
Well,
So
well,
mhm,
even in Australia, I think we talked about this over the
mhm,
weekend. I believe it's Australia. When you go there, when you go to the doctor just to get a checkup,
mhm.
it's a full day, and
Yes.
they scan the entire body. They feed you lunch, and by the time you're done, when you go home, they have a whole pamphlet of what's going on with your
The
body,
body.
and
Yep.
they tell you what are your chances of getting cancer and any other type of disease. And it just amazes me that you go over there, that's how they treat you. But here you get an appointment, it's about an hour, and
Mhm. If that.
open your mouth, let me see, open wide, cough,
Take some
and
blood.
yeah, take some blood, and that's pretty much it.
You know what?
But you know what? I
Go
will say that there was one doctor over, and he's in. I got to get his name and get it to you guys. But I saw this doctor, and when I tell you he's from Africa, he's from West Africa, the same country my people are from, and he went in and he ran every test. And when I sat down, I said, "I've never had any of these." He said, "What?" I said, "No." He said, "They never." He ran every test. He ran tests to tell you if I was going to have a heart attack before 90.
Mm.
He ran tests to check my cholesterol levels, that, different parts. He ran tests, to check to see if I had calcium buildup in my heart, on my main artery, and exactly where at it was there. He ran so many different tests on me. I was sitting there in a state of shock, like, I'm 56. Ain't nobody ever ran all these tests on me.
Right.
I've actually heard of those tests. I've heard some radio advertisement when I'm listening to talk radio. I've heard that those places are available where they could do that full body scan and check everything.
Mhm,
One of the questions I want to ask you, I've had a couple of friends, and Steve too, have
mhm.
died of pancreatic cancer. Usually when people get
Mm,
pancreatic cancer, it's stage 4. And this
mhm,
is one of the things that bothers me being, in my 60s now,
mhm,
that with my health insurance, why don't you at 50 give me a full body scan? Most people who survive pancreatic cancer,
It's a
they're
business.
usually searching for something else and they
mhm,
catch it, either pancreatic or liver cancer. Those are the two cancers you get. It's
mhm,
usually stage 3 or 4.
mhm.
At a certain age, just give us all a full body scan and see what's there. But they don't do it, like Steve said, it's such a business. If you have good health insurance, listen, I've had a hard time before pushing my health insurance to give me an MRI on my shoulder. They
Mhm,
like to do the physical therapy for 5 weeks and then
mhm.
see what happens. And you have to really advocate and push these health insurance companies now.
You have to advocate for yourself. See,
Yes.
the problem is people don't have the knowledge, or they're scared. One of the main concerns I have with, like, my cousin died from prostate cancer, because prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, breast cancer, and uterine cancer are at an all-time high right now.
Colon
Um,
cancer also.
yes, colon cancer. Sorry for that one.
Yeah.
And the problem is they you really don't have a lot of warnings with some of these
Yes.
cancers. So what you have to do is, like I said, change your diet. You have to advocate for yourself. You have to go and say, "Listen, cancer runs in my family. I don't care if great grandma, big mom had it. It runs in your family."
Yes.
My grandmother had cancer. My great grand, all my grandmother, big mom, my grandmother, my grand aunt all died of colon cancer.
Yes.
All of them, every last one of them. And
Mm.
so growing up, and
But
my on my
probably
dad's side,
when
one
they
second,
got it, they probably didn't even know when they got it. There was no symptoms,
it was
right?
back in the 40s, 50s, and
My
60s.
grandmother died. She was born 1896. She died in 1972 of colon cancer. By the time they found it was like stage 4. But
Hmm.
also, they were doing colonoscopies
They
back then.
weren't.
That's why
They
I
weren't.
tell all my friends, some of them listen, some don't. Go get a colonoscopy. You
Yes.
know, I think it's I've had 4 of them.
Yeah.
I'm not ashamed to tell anyone.
So
And
I have to
listen,
take mines, I believe,
listen,
biannually.
I
I
tell
mean,
my friends hey, go get a colonoscopy, because those polyps will grow in you, and after so many years they will turn cancerous.
Now,
they break off.
But also, you say that, but with everything we've talked about, there's a lack of trust.
Lack of trust.
There's a lack of trust with the hospitals and the doctors. So
yes. Well, that stems from that experiment that they did in down south with the syphilis experiment. They came in, they lied to these people. Right? Yep, the Tuskegee Project. Yep. And they gave these people syphilis, and these people walking around, they giving them all this medicine, knowing daggone well they were trying to kill them, and they didn't help them. So that's when a disconnect happened with the African American community. They didn't trust the doctors. They'll try to self-diagnose, or they'll just give up hope. When we, as the generation, we need to start advocating not only for our grandparents, our aunts, our uncles, our greats, if they're still alive. We need to advocate for our children. I'm a big advocator. I'll go into the hospital with my grown kids, and I'm like, okay, so what's the problem? Okay, how are we going to, handle it? I don't play that mess. No, you're not going to give. They were trying to push off the HPV vaccination on one of my daughters. I said, absolutely. She was like, yeah. I was like, no. Absolutely not. I said, because, one, you're not active. Two, since when you're giving these kids HPV? I said, you're injecting these kids with HPV vaccinations, hepatitis B vaccination. These kids ain't even out there active. I said, I don't think it's necessary. Now, what's happening? These kids are being sterile from these vaccinations. They're having all these other kind of health issues from these vaccinations. So we have to be, we do have to be careful, but we have to research and we have to advocate. I think along with those things, we will do better, and not just advocate for our community. We don't have a lot of community leaders. There's no one out there advocating for us like there was back in the 50s and the 70s.
Especially in the health field.
Yes, in the health field. I have people calling me all the time, texting me, I need this. I was diagnosed with high blood pressure. What should I do? I said, stop eating all that processed food, and start going to the gym. If you don't got money to go to the gym, go for a walk, go for a run. You can do it. You can do workouts in public parks.
Keep that blood flowing.
Yeah, and stress is a major factor with high blood pressure, even diabetes. It's a lot. It puts stress on the heart valves, the vascular system, and major organs.
Society puts stress on us right now.
Yes,
we're living in a society where it's all about the finances, paying the bills. It's so expensive to live. So everyone's always sitting around worrying about how they're going to pay the next bill. Every time you go to the mailbox, there's another bill. You go to the grocery store, you're putting gas in your car. So society does a really good job of keeping us stressed.
But you know what, though? There's stuff that we eat that's in our refrigerator, like garlic, hawthorn, dandelion, celery root, hibiscus, sorrel, moringa. Moringa is good for a lot of stuff, even men's health. So these are the things that are in our house that we could use to help us, and it would reduce, I would almost say by 75% of us having some of these diseases, that we're getting because we're not, taking care of our body effectively or taking in the right food. And it is what it is. We have to, and gut health is really important because it starts with gut health. What we do, we eat and it goes into our gut and it digests. So a lot of this stuff is junk that stays into our system, and then it just causes problems. And, and at that point we're in a hospital taking 15 medications for 2 or 3 things that's causing 20 other issues in our body, and a lot of them are inflammation.
The thing is, you being in this field, you understand the breakdown of the body. Mm-hmm. You walk into a corner store and there's nothing good in there for you, of course. And see, most people don't realize, like Steve was saying, we eat stuff, we put it in our body, and our body really don't even recognize it when it goes in our stomach. The dyes, the different chemicals that's put in foods to keep them long on the shelf. I mean, I look at expiration dates on stuff in the supermarket, and I just laugh sometimes because it's like this thing's good on the shelf for 5 years.
Yeah.
Anything that say 5 years, I don't want to eat. I don't want no part.
Yeah, I'm like,
have you noticed too when you buy bread now?
Yes,
bread used to quit pretty quick.
Yeah,
and
I don't buy bread.
Yeah, I don't eat a lot of bread now either.
What makes it.
But I did notice that when you buy bread from the supermarket
It
now,
used to mold.
it doesn't mold anymore. And you got to actually just throw it away after 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks.
Yes.
It never lasted that long in the past, you know? So,
well, you know what? Fruit don't even last long. Fruit, remember, fruit used to last. You could go buy, you could tell what's genetically engineered and what's farm raised because you get it. And the stuff like I peeled the orange and it was a bunch of mold in it. I was like, there was nothing wrong with the outer shell. I said, I think this is bioengineered because what is that? I mean, I'm talking about, I should have took a picture. It was so much mold in it. I was like, this is gross. And I had just bought a bag of oranges because I eat oranges. I eat a lot of fruit. So that was a huge red flag. I think we need to get back to going to the farmers markets, going to these farms because there's plenty of farms in Massachusetts, getting our fruit and vegetables. My sister-in-law just sent me a link because I told her what happened at the supermarket because she would buy a cow. They will all get together. They're Native American. It's my sister-in-law, my brother's wife. And they would buy a cow and they would go half and they would get different portions of the cow. And the meat would last forever. You just seal them up and throw them in the refrigerator. But that was my alternative. I said, we can go and get some meat from the farm. At least we know it's fresh. At least we know it doesn't have.
Well, Steve, talking about bread, one of the things I learned when I drove the MBTA to Green Line in Brookline, I spent a lot of time in Brookline. And that's when I first got exposed to the European culture. The Jews, the Jewish people in Brookline, the Russian Jews, they go to the market every day. I didn't realize these elderly people were in their 80s. Every day they were getting on my train. I'm like, why do these people shop every day?
Because they're buying it fresh.
Someone finally explained to me, if you go to Brookline, I tell anyone, go to Brookline. There's markets, fresh European food, meat. They don't freeze food. Steve, when you're talking about bread, Steve, if you want good bread, there's several bakeries in Brookline. Go to Brookline and get your fresh bread, man.
Now this is a whole.
You gonna get you some Ezekiel bread.
and that brings up something else. Now you won't find a Whole Foods in the hood. You won't find a Trader Joe's. You won't find these places where you could get fresh food.
The closest Whole Foods is probably Jamaica Plain on right over there on Huntington Ave, South Huntington Ave.
Right. And even, now I don't know if this person still works in the supermarket industry, but he said that the food they send to the hood is definitely different from what they send out in the suburbs.
Why do you think they popped up all these places like Price Right and I forget the one on American Legion Highway?
You're so right about that, doctor. Yes, you know what, doctor? I knew this 20 years ago, 25 years ago. That's why my friends was laughing at me. Because I don't shop in the inner city for food. I go to Whole Foods. I go to places like Wegmans. I go to Brookline. There's a couple of small markets over there. I found this out 25 years ago that the caliber meat that we eat here, I haven't ate meat out of a Stop and Shop in the hood in probably 25 years. I'm not saying I'm better than the hood, but this is just stuff that I kind of figured out. I'm like, why are there so many butcher shops in Brookline? We don't have butcher shops in the hood. We don't have fresh bakeries to make bread. You go just Brookline, and that's not that far away for people to go. You go to Brookline on Harvard Street, you got the Russian Jews, you got different ethnic groups,
Israel Jews,
making bread. And also, doctor, you're probably familiar with this place. There's an Indian store on Harvard Street in Brookline. They have the turmeric that they actually import from India. They have all the herbs in that store. You go in there, that smell. So there's a lot of stuff. I mean, I hope that people listening to this is taking this in. There's a lot of stuff out there that can really make us healthier as we get older and keep us healthy.
Now the people in the neighborhood they're saying, oh no, they're coming to the neighborhood now.
No, but you know what? That is so true. My aunt, my aunt would always say, why you too? She would call me bougie. She said, oh, you bougie. You don't want to shop in the hood. I said, honey, it's the food in the hood. I'm not trying to eat. And I would go to the Wegmans. I would go out Northborough to get my food. And I still go out to Northborough. When I get my meat.
She used to tease me that I'm eating farm raised chicken. Oh, he like all that farm raised chicken. They used to and grass fed beef. They used to make a joke because they would see my bags in my car,
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I just want to read a couple of these comments. So Dwayne says, just like they paid heart health agencies to push Crisco on us in the 70s, it was meant as a machine lubricant.
Yep,
and,
it is.
True facts.
Right. Cynthia says, methadone mild only becomes a priority when it's an election year.
Yes, I
Right.
agree with her.
Right.
Because they're not doing nothing now. What are they doing? It went from homelessness being in downtown and Mattapan to now it's all in one center space, which is where Boston Medical Center, which is, I was born at Boston Medical, but then they took in they're
Boston City Hospital.
Yeah, it was Boston.
I'm just
Boston City back in the day.
Yeah. So now this Boston Medical Center, I don't even know what the new name. They have so many different. But what I saw and what my daughter sees all the time, they're shooting up. And the Department of Public Health, is where she works. She's a police officer for them. She sees this every day, and the Boston police will sit right there and not do anything. The Department of Public Health steps in, and like I said, they're shooting up. They'll go down, they'll get their medication, and they'll be back out on the streets instead of getting to the root cause of the problems, getting them the treatment they need to get off this crap.
Yeah, well, helping them feed the problem.
In that predicament.
Giving them methadone in the morning, and that feeds the problem. But it's funny because you say your daughter works down there. My daughter's actually a mental health therapist, social worker. She worked down there at the shelter part-time on the weekends.
She might know my daughter.
They might have crossed paths. So my daughter, she shares stories with me. Yes. And the funny thing about methadone mild, there's a lot of people down there that do not look like us now. They're from the suburbs. Yep. And these are wealthy, upper middle class kids. And you know what's the crazy part? Like you said, Big Pharma was pushing them opiates, and they thought only the inner city had a drug problem. But once it spread it out to the suburbs, all of a sudden there's a crisis now. There was no crisis in the 70s. And me and Steve grew up together. We saw heroin addicts in our neighborhood. But now there's a crisis because the suburban kids are addicted now. So now we have to put money into it,
Yeah. And when we say that and that's the same thing, because my daughter would see rich people pull up in their Bentleys trying to find their kids. And I'm like,
oh my God, you know what? You sound like my daughter telling me these stories.
Yes. I see it. I was down there yesterday with my son because I had to go pick up my bank card for my daughter at on Albany Street. And I actually went into the building, and what my daughter said, she said, I don't want you touching nothing, mommy. And so she had this little thing, and she pulled. I said, "Where's your gloves at?" Because I make sure she has gloves and scrubs. Yes. She says, "Mommy, I can't get in my car when she's either there at the shelter, or she says you can't. Even in Mattapan, where the old mental hospital used to be, there's a shelter over there. She says, "Mommy, there's crack everywhere." She says, "There's fentanyl everywhere." She says, "If I step in my car and come into your house, I'm tracking that crap that I walk on down there throughout the house." And I'm like, oh my God. And she said, it is so bad. She said,
your daughter's exactly right, because one quick note. So what you're saying about the Bentleys, my daughter told me the story. Remember when they had all the tents down there?
Yes.
Do you know those what's that outdoor store, Aria? Those tents was $1,000 tents, $1,500 tents. None of these addicts from the inner city was getting tents. Those wealthy people were bringing those tents to their children, dropping them off bags of food because their kids won't come home. So their attitude is, well, I'm going to at least help them while they're out here. So that's why the tents, nobody will tell this story. That's how the tents got down methadone mild.
They were enabling them because providing them a place to stay in an environment that's toxic.
Bringing them bags of food. And that's how the tents got out there. No one tells this story, but that's how the tents. Nobody could afford to buy $1,000 tent. Those tents are $1,000, $1,500. Those are actual camping tents that were out there.
But what was happening down there were people were getting raped and robbed and stabbed and killed. And that's why the governor, I think the governor or the mayor had them removed.
And it also became a health crisis.
Yes.
Because the tents were out there, and, it just became a health crisis. And it wasn't a good look for the city. So it was time to clean it up, but they don't want to say it. But a lot of the people down there are actually not from Boston.
They're not. They're from all over. I mean, like my daughter tells me all the time.
They're from the
They be
North
coming in
Shore,
there
South
looking for
Shore.
their kids.
They're from the Cape. They're from Western Mass. They're coming
A
from
lot of people on the Cape. A lot of people from Newton Wellesley.
Yes, but don't make this just a like, oh, these are all Boston people. That's not how it goes. And you know, no one wants to say it, but I found out firsthand that's how it is, you know.
When I went in the building yesterday, I seen a probably 70% of Caucasian like people in that building getting treatment.
And that's mainly down there. This fentanyl problem, it's not any inner city problem. It's people coming in from everywhere. And I wish they would actually promote this and say it like that, you know, instead of just making it sound like it's the inner city. We get it, you know, what's going on in the city, but like you said, it's a serious problem, you know, it's a serious problem.
Let me just share this with you. You know, my nephew, this is my sister's son. He worked for the city of Boston. He was one of the guys who cleaned up outside. So he was down there cleaning up and he got stabbed with a needle. Now he's a heroin addict. Jeez. And actually, when I went down yesterday to get my car, my daughter was trying to track him down so I could talk to him because he listens to me. And I said, you know, I've spoke to him a couple of times via FaceTime. I was like, what are you doing? We didn't come from this, you know, background. So he's 28 years old, no teeth, wonderful kid. Father was a cop, you know, and he told me, he was like, I was down here cleaning up and I got stuck with a needle and I've been hooked. He said, I tried to go into treatment. He says, but what he told me was, he says, I'll go in, you know, and try to clean myself up. And then they make me wait like 25 days. And then I need to get high. I need something. I don't have anything. And so I'm back out there. So they're actually setting these people up for failure. These people do go in and try to get clean. It's the system that's not allowing them or giving them help.
It becomes addictive also.
Yep. So he told me, he's like, he stays out there. He comes, he gets his methadone. You know, we've gotten him phones. He's sold it. Shoes. He sold it. I got him coats for Christmas. He sold it.
Fentanyl they have. From my daughter, from the research that she's been involved in, she said this thing is like 100 times more addictive than heroin, which is kind of insane. Because when we grew up as kids, we always thought heroin
was the demon of demons.
They don't even make heroin anymore.
They have it. They have it. It's just a different brand of heroin. Like I said, even with the vaping and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, it's so addictive now. They made it more powerful and more addictive. And, you know, it's kind of sad because most people that's addicted on it, you know, you got a very small percentage that actually comes up off of it.
Yeah. And also, what's this new pink stuff that they're out there using? And forgive me for not having it at the top of my head. But
I've heard of it. But yeah, they got all kinds of different things.
It's sad. That's bad. And I know your daughter's probably showed you. I mean, you see them in the street and they just.
Oh, yeah. She's in that field. So she deals with a lot of her clients. And also, this fentanyl, it also causes mental illness. If you take it over long terms, it turns into a mental health crisis too.
It's a disruptor. It messes with your neurons in your brain.
Even when you get off of it, you need mental health counseling to continue to be drug free.
Yeah, you need to have a huge support system coming off of that, and you need to, you know, be able to not put yourself in the company of anyone.
It's kind of strange though. All of this ties into the food system that we were talking about, because actually the food is addictive. I was telling Steve, I have a book called Fast Food Nation, and the food is actually addictive, believe it or not. They try to get the kids addicted on it when they're very young. If you addict the kids to McDonald's, processed foods in the supermarket, now you have a customer for life.
Yep, you do. And that's one of the big kickers for ADHD. And that's one of the things we also need to focus on too, is when you start, when the diet, the dyes, you know, it causes, you know, focus issues, behavioral issues. And, you know, now we have a kid that's all over the place and we don't know how to control them. Well, you know, I'm going to tell the parents, stop giving your kids all this junk. Stop letting your kids eat if you look at the cereal now, I don't even buy it anymore. I used to, even WIC, bioengineered, bioengineered,
Mm.
you know, red, yellow, blue. These
Yes.
dyes are killing our kids. Is not helping our kids. It's killing our kids slowly.
And
You know.
there is an addiction to this stuff,
Mhm.
because I like to think the food industry followed the same blueprint of the cigarette industry, the
Mhm.
tobacco industry.
Yep.
In the 1950s, 60s, they were giving out free cigarettes in the little
They
packs. They used to come
were.
around in an ice cream truck, look like an
Mhm.
ice cream truck. They were giving out sample packs, and they got sued for that. They paid out billions of dollars. They didn't care. Look how much money they had made.
Right.
But they addicted people back in the 50s and 60s when they were 14, 15 years old.
Years old.
They
Yep.
became lifetime customers, and the cigarette industry got exposed.
Yep.
There were whistleblowers that said, yes, they made sure they put extra amounts of nicotine in cigarettes. That way people became highly addictive. I mean,
Yep.
actually, they
So-
have done studies. It's just as hard to get off nicotine as it is to get off opiates.
Yeah.
So what do you do with the food for kids? Okay, you could stop buying the stuff and put it in your refrigerator, the breakfasts and the snacks, but then they go to school and they serve the same snacks, you know,
So
with the
you
dyes.
really gotta like with my kids, you know, I sent my kids to school with their own stuff. I don't know. It was just growing up in the school system. I didn't like the food. And then my kids would come home. All my daughters would come home and say, I don't want that school lunch. Mom, can you buy me this? You know, and remember the little snack packs they had with the processed meat and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember getting my youngest daughter that a couple of times, but then she started acting different. And I was like, okay, what did I do to your diet? First thing it came in mind is she's eating something that she's not. I took it out of her diet. She was fine. And
Yeah.
so the food definitely played, like the red 40, the yellow 5, and the yellow 6. They're all disruptors. So they interfere with the dopamine and the serotonin in the brain. And that's, it focuses on the mood. It's a mood regulator. It's
And
like,
that's
so
probably
if you
why some
strip-
kids have learning disabilities in
Yep.
school. huh?
But listen, if you strip them of that, then it depletes zinc and iron. So now you have a whole out of control person, and these things are needed to regulate our kids, you know. And there are different roots, like the African moringa root. You can use that, or the ginkgo root, or the bocapa root. You can use those roots. Those roots repair the natural pathway to improve a systematic communication to the brain, and
Now-
it restores oxygen. So, and we got to get into this because a lot of people don't know. If you do your research, it's there. The National Institution for Health tells you everything. Just like they said, cancer was parasites. This was way back when they put that out there, and they try to hush it, but it's in the system, you know. And you know, and then, you know, we also got to provide them with a high nutrient detox. Their body needs, and that's the African moringa. It detox the body, it gets it back in alignment where it's supposed to do. So if parents really want to get their children healthy, and you know, and cut this mess out with letting them eat all this candy and stuff like the Skittles and the M&Ms, all that stuff is messing up our kids. They're not
Gives
like,
them ADHD.
And what about just start with just home cooked meals?
yes. Listen, I my grandkids, and I'm gonna say this too. A lot of kids are coming up with autism. And you know why? Not only is it from the vaccination, because that's already been discussed a lot, but think about it. Our kids are getting baby food that is heavy metal, heavy toxins, heavy metal in the baby food. Why are you putting this in our baby's food? So my parents, they cooked our baby food. They didn't give us no garbage in a jar. They got those carrots and they cooked them and they mushed them up and seasoned them up. Apples, seasoned them up.
You're 100% right. Yes, I remember that.
The peach, all of it was even our meat. Boiled up the meat, seasoned it, and blended it up and fed it to us, and we were perfectly fine.
Now
autism is at an all-time high, and ADHD is at an all-time high because the kids are just eating anything. You know, we grew up on Kool-Aid. We were good, but now we know what's in it. We ain't touching it.
Right. And folks don't understand that the food coloring in those Skittles and M&Ms and all the snacks, the Dorito chips and all of that, that's the stuff that's causing them those diseases. Now, you mentioned root. I forget what root you said it was, but where can folks buy some of this stuff?
You can actually get it online. There's different root stores. There's a store in Cambridge that sells a lot of herbs. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. I apologize in
Right.
advance.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these stores in the community. You got to go to some of the African stores, some of the Haitian stores. If there's a Jamaican, there's Spanish. I noticed at Price Right, not too far from me, they're starting to put those roots out in the store where you can buy it. And it's like, okay, this tea, give the kids tea. This is natural stuff because this is roots. It'll tell you what's in it and what it treats.
And once
So
again,
it's
Tropical
out
Food
there.
Market in Dudley Station. I mean, they've been catering this type of food for years. Something you missed, I wanted to ask you about. It was the Irish sea moss.
The sea moss is good.
Yeah.
Sea moss, sea moss is good. You can there's a store in Brockton, not Market Basket, but there's a store in Brockton that I go to. It's like over by Brockton Town Hall. And they have the sea moss there. That's where I get my sea moss. Actually, I have some in my refrigerator my daughter bought. But sea moss replenishes the body. It puts back into the body what the body doesn't have and more, and that's really good too. That's good for your joints. So like when I was coming off my kick with cancer, I noticed walking up the stairs was hard. I was having a lot of problems with my knees and my joints. Sea moss replenishes those. Also, people need to take magnesium too. You need to really take some of your regular vitamins because magnesium is good for you. There's different forms of magnesium. What else? Collagen. We should be having our collagen. I had a huge debate with my brother about collagen recently. I think that's important as we age. I'm like I said, I'm 50. I'm in my 50s. I'm 56. And
what about vitamin D?
Vitamin D is really important. I think we have a huge vitamin D depletion.
Yeah,
that's
I hear that a lot.
In the body. A lot of these things that the health insurance were paying for, they stopped paying for it because they want to keep us sicker. The sicker we are, the more the more we're in the hospital getting, medical assistance. But I found that hard because they stopped paying for mine, and it was a part of my prescription. I'm like, okay, I can go to the store and buy it. Or eat food rich in that area.
Yeah, I actually took a lot of vitamin D during COVID because they said vitamin D was great. And I was outside a lot because I saw studies from the 1920 flu epidemic that killed so many people. The people that were outside was the ones that didn't die from the flu epidemic, the Spanish flu. They did studies, and anyone that was exposed to sun because they couldn't keep people in the hospitals because they were so filled up. So they had to have patients outside. Actually, those patients lived versus the ones that was inside. And they found studies later when they did research, the ones that was exposed to the sun and the vitamin D actually was the ones that lived.
Yeah.
Wow. So let me just back up a little bit and break this down once again. So, folks, again, a lot of us passing away from cancer and all kinds of diseases, heart attack. Our kids got ADHD. A lot of it is because of the toxins in our body that's coming from the food that we eat. So we got to change our eating habits. Don't just pass certain things when you're in the supermarket. Download that Yucca app or whatever app's going to help you identify what you're buying and what you're putting in your system. So that's number one. We got to eat better, right? We also, going to the gym is going to help. Keeping that blood flowing, busting a sweat. When I go to the gym, if I'm not sweating, I ain't worked out. Exactly. So go there and bust a sweat. But more importantly,
sweat, Steve, is a normal detoxification of your system. That's a way of getting all those toxins out of your body. And a lot of people don't realize that sweat we're supposed to sweat. It gets all of the toxins. That's why sometimes when people sweat in their underarms stink, that's a toxin buildup that's in your lymphatic system that needs to be, released. And people don't realize that. It's normal.
Right. Right. So you got to do those things. Very, very, very important. Again, download that Yucca app, YUKA. The great thing about the app, it will tell you whether the food is good or bad, and it will break it down into why it's good or bad. It'll tell you the additives. It'll give you a score. And a lot of the stuff that I've been finding, again, cancer, ADHD, the stuff from the pollen, allergies, all kinds of stuff, diabetes, you'll be surprised. And that stuff was we've never had those issues back in the day. Never had those issues. And they tell us that the stuff they're putting in the food now is only to keep the shelf life. And no. So
Steve, can I just jump in real quick and say one more thing?
Of course.
So the food dyes, and this is what it's linked to: yellow 5, green 3, blue 1, blue 2, red 3, red 40, orange 8, citrus red 2, yellow 6, E123, E320, E509, E968. These all link to cancer, ADHD, allergies, hypersensitivity, asthma, hyperactivity, diabetes, and high blood pressure.
All the things we
can. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's in the food. Wow.
And so also with sweating is the skin is like the third kidney. That's what I said. It removes toxins. So your skin is a, it's just like your kidney. It has to, remove the toxins from the body. And that's why it's a good thing that, you sweat. And fasting, is a cellular clearinghouse. One other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is berberine. And that is it's like a natural metformin. And so, metformin I'm not a big fan of, but this is a natural form. And it's like it's the master switch of detoxing your system when you're diabetic. So it cleans your system. It definitely does. And then bitter melon acts as a insulin. These are all natural roots. The garlic and the hawthorn, that relaxes the vessel walls, and hibiscus. I love hibiscus. So these are some of the natural roots you can take if you're a diabetic. However, I will say, okay, you have to use these in moderation. You can't overindulge because you don't want to get sick. And you have to make sure that you're not allergic to some of these roots because you don't want to have an allergic reaction to it. So you have to do your research before you start taking any root or any herb. Because not every, like one of my daughters, she has an allergy to trees. So some of these roots she can't even take, because it'll put her in a hospital. So you just got to be careful on what you put into your body, whether it's, food or natural medicines.
Now, how come doctors, medical doctors don't recommend it? And I believe they know about some of this stuff. How come they don't recommend these things for people?
Medical doctors sign under oath, do no harm. However, they do more harm without even knowing it. Sometimes they don't give us information.
They're trained and taught in schools.
Yep, it is. And you know what? They have a certain quota that they have to meet. They have FTEs they have to meet. So they have to see a certain amount of patients. And if also what they do, and I don't know if you guys realize this or people out there, every time you go to the hospital, they ask you, are you suicidal?
Yes.
I'm not doing that. Don't
they ask you questions. Are you safe?
Because they bill you for that one question. They get paid. I believe it's $150.
Yes, Steve, they ask you now, do you feel safe at home?
Back up again.
Yes. Yep.
So they ask you, are you suicidal? And you get billed for that?
They've never said suicidal to me, but they've said, are you?
It's the same thing. They're billing you. And they're doing it a lot lately. And now I decline to answer the question because I worked in a hospital, so I know they're billing. It's a billing. So they'll one simple question can be between $150 and $500.
Yes,
absolutely not. Don't ask me that question. Next, you can't bill me now.
I'm amazed.
It's funny you brought that up, doctor, because I've actually told them, please don't ask me that.
Mm-hmm.
What and they kind of like, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Now that I know that, are you charging me for that?
Yeah, and they do. They charge you. Yep.
What?
Yep.
Yeah.
They charge you.
It's almost like they call it what's the word I'm looking for? Evaluation.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. They say, do you feel safe at home?
Yeah, that's just that's a mental health question.
They've asked me that question, Stephen. They've asked my wife that question right in front of me.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's all about billing tactics. It's ways of the hospital getting more money from the insurance company.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, Steve. There's a lot of little trickery in this, man.
Yeah. Again, it's a business. I get it. It's a business.
Mm-hmm.
Being sick is a business. From the time you walk into the supermarket buying foods that we have to eat, right?
Yes.
Now, how do you feel about growing up we're told 3 meals a day?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about 3 meals a day?
Well, I eat once or twice a day. I'm going to be very transparent. If I'm going to eat a heavy meal, it's probably going to be once a day. And I'll have snacks along the day, like fruit and vegetables. Like I'll cut up some cucumbers and make sure, and everybody, and Steve, let me pause on that.
Mm-hmm.
Every vegetable, every fruit should have seeds. Stop eating seedless food. It is genetically engineered food. It is killing us. Watermelons don't be buying those seedless watermelons for you or your kids. Get watermelon with seeds. Watermelon is really good for the body too. It's really good for my hydration.
And I have to say, finding a good watermelon is very hard.
It is
very hard.
Well, you almost have to wait till the summertime come and the guys go down south and bring them back.
Yep. Yeah. I'm still trying to get that yellow watermelon. So if anybody can find the street corner.
You have to wait till those guys come back in the summer. Doctor, I have another question. What about coffee? I drink my coffee black. I've heard different reports that coffee is good for you as a antioxidant. How do you feel about coffee, and whether black or whatever?
I drink coffee.
I drink black coffee.
Coffee has its pros and its cons. Coffee make you go to the bathroom. Before this meeting, I was running to the bathroom. I had 3 sips. I said, I can't. Black coffee is fine. They tell you black coffee is fine. They in some countries, it depends on where you get your coffee from. The best coffee to get is Middle Eastern coffee, to be honest.
Yes, I've heard that. I've had Middle Eastern coffee.
Yeah, I've worked with them a lot, and I used to use
Arabian coffee or something they call it. Yeah,
it's a nasty coffee, but
it's very bitter. But oh my God, talking about the caffeine rush it gets you, man. It wakes you up, man.
Yeah,
but it's crazy because we get crazy with it. We got a big old cup of coffee, but all the Europeans and the Middle Easterns, they have a small cup. Like a miniature cup. Small. And they sip on it, and that's all you need.
You have a call, Steve?
It's going to give you the same, boost in energy. It's not going to tear up your system. And coffees is made different places. Some coffee is good. Some coffee is made out of animal poop. So there's one Jamaica, I believe it's Jamaican coffee or Brazilian coffee that they use animal poop to make the coffee. So just be careful where you get your coffee. I don't want no animals poop. All said. I used to buy some Jamaican something coffee. I think it was Jamaican blue something. And when I researched, I was like, oh, I'm eating animals poop. So drinking animals poop. So just be careful with. But no, definitely the Middle Eastern coffee is the best coffee. And there's a lot of different stores. Like you said, there's a Middle Eastern store that I go to. There's one in Randolph, and it's over by the old movie theater because they shut down recently next to the well. Then there's another one out in Norwood next to Savers. I go there a lot. There's one in Natick. You're going to have to Google. He has everything, every herb, every root you could think of in his store. So there's a lot of Middle Eastern stores. I would cater to them. If I want a soda, if I feel like I want a soda, I will go to the Middle Eastern store and get that. And if you look at it, you'll see there's probably 7% sugar compared to 109 or 70 or 80% that's in the United States sugar. And it doesn't make you sick. And it doesn't have all those additives that our stuff, preservatives that our stuff has that's killing us all. Even the candy, if you're going to get your kids candy, you that desperate, if you go into them stores, you'll be surprised. There's also a place out in Natick in that plaza. It's right next to Hobby Lobby that my kids and me go to. And they have a lot of stuff from overseas too. And like I just said, download the Yuka Cap, YUKA. It has a barcode. You can scan it and it can give you all the information on what's in that food.
All right, real quick.
Stay in the green zone.
We got a phone call. Who's this? Welcome to the Urban Heat.
Good afternoon, beautiful people. It's Moonlight.
Moonlight, how are you this morning?
I am well. I'm listening, and I just had a question in regards to the. I just learned some. I was learning a lot of stuff when I listened about the doctors asking about how you're doing if you're, you want to kill yourself and so forth. You want to take off yourself. I'm wondering, are we okay? So our foes should be outraged because they're being asked a question and they're not being told why,
Right.
or is it not that the world? Because I'm thinking too, like I totally hear what you all were saying, but then I'm also thinking about when we look at the way all the things that we've gone through as a society as of late, a lot of people are in that space where they just don't know how they're going to live, or if they can move on, or they're suffering from some type of mental illness. So it makes me wonder: do we not want them to be asked? Or is it that they're asking to be billed and they're getting paid off of it, but there's no follow-up to make sure that the patient gets the care that they need? Like, I just want to make sure I understand it properly.
Okay. What are your thoughts on that, doctor? Were you able to hear her?
So working in the medical field, and I worked at one of the top hospitals in Boston, and I sat in the medical directors meetings, and these are the things I heard. And I did not like it. That's why when I would go in, I'm like, you don't care about our mental health. You care about billing. It was always about those meetings we had once a month was always meeting based about, FTEs, how we can bring more money in, billing. It was always around billing. It wasn't around, mental health. We have options. They give it out, whether you have regular health insurance, mass health, TRICARE for military. It's there. There are a lot of outreaches, and even insurance company are reaching out, separately to the people saying, hey, if you have mental health issues, we offer free care. It's free care. It's the way the doctors are going about it. If I sat in there and I told my doctor, no, I'm not safe at home, because I am a survivor of domestic violence as well. So I remember telling my doctor that I had a bashed in face, broken teeth on my side. And I'm like, he's beating me, and it's a person, a political person, are you got nothing? They didn't do a follow-up.
Okay. So it is
okay.
So there is no follow-up.
No.
So self-serving, basically.
Self-serving.
And maybe
for the doctors.
For the doctors, it was self-serving because they didn't. I got help from my church. I got help from my big sister at my church. Because they didn't do their part. I'd end up having to have reconstruction surgery on my side of my face. And this was a very long time ago. But the fact is they didn't do anything. And even now you can ask a patient, because even with my primary care physician, you can ask a patient, and if you feel safe or you suicidal, and then you fall through the loopholes, because then they don't provide the necessary support system. It falls through the crack. And I go to Brigham and Women's, it falls through the crack.
But one thing, Moonlight, I'm going to interject.
Yeah,
I've been on a regular physical, and they asked me this question. I kind of laugh because I think it's funny when I'm in here for my regular physical, and they ask me, "Do you feel safe at home?" I just start laughing. And I'm saying, "Yeah, I'm all right at home." I never knew the doctor telling me that they bill you for that. But this is something they just started this about 5 years ago. They never, I've been going to Harvard Vanguard at Kenmore for 35 years or 37 years or whatever. And they just started this the last 5 or 6 years. So, hey, listen, I didn't know what it was for. They give you a
form to fill out too. They give you a form to fill out to make sure that you have all of the things that you need in your life. Food,
yes. I was laughing because I said, I'm not here for a mental health evaluation. This is my regular physical I'm coming in here for.
And if you joke around and say, I'm getting beat at home, then what?
What help are you? You going to call the justice system? The justice team to come help?
Yeah.
So,
And I'm a grown man. I'm like, do I look like I'm getting, do anybody look like they're abusing me?
But they do. I will. The caller was right. I've noticed, even when I take either my son or my grandsons to the clinic now, what they do is they give you over at Brigham's, they give you an iPad and you fill out everything on that iPad. But when I get to that, because it's on the iPad as well. So I don't answer it. So when I still go in, they're going to ask me the question again. So, but they do offer, do you have enough food? Do you have a place to stay? These are public health questions that they are responsible of asking us. However, what are they doing?
Got it.
I wonder.
I'm going to pay attention. Thank you so much for the information.
Yeah.
You guys have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Mo.
You as well. Thank you.
All right, let me just read a couple of more of these comments here. All right, interesting because they're supposed to be I think a flu. I think that's what that says. A flu that occurs dependent upon your response. That's from Michelle. Cynthia says they started during COVID because people weren't seen to show the signs of abuse.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely during the pandemic,
And
there was a lot
also
of
from
domestic
Shotgun,
violence.
we eat too much. You eat to live. The less you eat, the better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember being asked during my last checkup sometime last year, do you feel suicidal? And I kind of looked at him. I'm like, no. Kind of laughed and like, no. And the question was from left field. So it's funny that you say maybe
it is from COVID because they thought so many people were in the house going through the effects of being in the house, and they've come out with studies. They said a lot of mental illness came out of COVID.
Let me just jump in here because I did some research.
That's the reason why they started that.
I had to do that's one of my things.
Thanks,
I did.
Doctor. I appreciate all your information. Hey, I try to practice some of the stuff that you're saying. I mean, it's very helpful. Hopefully, we can get this out in our communities, and hopefully, you can become in our community and be an advocate for us.
Yes, I'm here.
Well, yeah, we talked about a lot. So, let's just wrap it up in saying, number one, be careful of the food that you buy and that you bring home, and be careful of the food that you feed your kids. Again, we talked about the Yuka app. It's a free app. You could download it. It tells you all kinds of information about the food. All you got to do is scan the barcode, and it'll tell you whether it causes cancer or not. Diabetes, ADHD, heart attacks, all kinds of stuff in pancake mix. And I just, every now and then I like to make me some breakfast. You know what I mean? And I like pancakes. But after I got the Yuka app, I scanned the barcode on the pancakes. I ended up throwing these 2 big boxes away that I bought from BJ's.
Was that Aunt Mama?
Yeah, well, the company that took over for that.
Yeah,
it looks. It's the
Was
same
it Miss Pearl? Was it called
anymore.
Pearling or Miss
I ended
Pearl?
up having to throw that away.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
that wasn't the original one, Steve. The original pancake mix was actually pancake mix. But yeah, they started adding all the extra stuff to keep it's all about shelf life, Steve.
And it's no good. It is no good.
Additives and chemicals.
Did we lose you? Your sound?
Can you hear me?
I don't like we lost
the doctor. I think we lost your sound, doctor.
Hold on, let me see what's going on here.
Lost it. I haven't heard.
I'm not sure what happened, but
I can hear you guys. I don't know why you
with all this stuff, man.
You hear me?
No, we don't hear you yet. I don't know what happened. What happened there? No, we lost you.
She's still there.
She's still there. We can see you. We can't hear you.
Shelf life, Steve, man. That's what I've come to find out is the shelf life about stuff, man.
And you know what I want to do real quick while the doctor works on the sound. I'm gonna go back and show you what Yuka look when you scan the items. I'm gonna show you what Yuka looks like. Let me just click on this here. All right, so this is wait a minute before I click on that. Okay, so this is Caesar salad. This is Ken's Steakhouse Caesar salad, and basically it says it's bad, right?
Wow.
It's got additives that are at high risk. So when you click over to the next page, when you click on the additives, this is what it shows you. All right. The preservatives, like you said, Rich, are for the extension of the product's shelf life. Yes. Right. It has adverse effects on reproduction. So if you're a young kid and you don't have a family and you're looking to have a family, well, guess what? It's going to affect your reproduction.
Or female.
Right.
Male or female.
Right. Male or female.
You get a couple together when they're 35 and they can't have kids and they're having a problem. They're going to the doctor. Right. And they don't know where it came from originally.
Right. And it shows that there's effects on the liver as well. Let me bring the doctor back up and see if
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I don't know what happened. We lost your sound though.
Yeah,
we can see you. We see your lips moving, but we cannot hear you.
What I was talking.
Happened? Nothing on this end. I don't know what it is. Let me try I don't know. I don't know what happened there, doctor. We lost you.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, so wow. You want to log out and log back in? Try logging out and log back in.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I'll pull you off the stage. and log back in, and then we'll try and wrap it up. So that's what the Yuka app does. It will tell you whether it's good or bad, and it'll tell you about all the additives that are in there. So let's do one more before we wrap things up. What is this here? What we got? All right. So this is and this one's actually good. Crispy chicken strips. All right.
What brand?
This is Wellesley Farms. Okay.
Wellesley Farms.
And it scores a 57, which is good. But it does have some additives. So let's look at the additives in there, which might be, it's a texturizing agent to provide consistency, maintains or modifies the texture. So shelf life, like you said, Rich.
Yeah.
And let's see
Probably
what else.
Don't have a long shelf life though.
Right. Allergies. So if there's anything wrong with it, there's something in there that can cause you to have allergies. And again, if you go to the supermarket and you got the Yuka app and you scan it, it will give you the information about whether that food is good or bad. Can you hear us, doctor?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I don't know what it is. Somehow we lost you.
Can you hear me though?
I tell you what. Well,
wow.
We're about to wrap it up anyways. And thank you for coming aboard. I'll give you a call. We'd love to have you back and maybe continue this a month from now. I want to try and do this at least once a month. Talk about Black health and just talk about some of the issues going on in our community when it comes to cancer, diabetes, and heart attacks and ADHD in the kids. And I'm telling you, folks just got used to the fact that when the school says we want to test your son or daughter for ADHD, we're like, okay.
Yeah, you're right.
When the problem is, it's the food and the junk that they're eating, in whether it's candy bars, whether it's the Skittles, whether it's the Starburst, all that stuff the kids like to eat. Cheetos has the red dye and blue dye.
All the stuff in the corner stores, man.
All the stuff, the juices that they drink.
One of the things I want to say, Steve, we grew up, we didn't have this knowledge.
Right.
We ate a lot of home cooked food also.
Yeah.
Let's save the kids, man. Right now, that's my thing.
Right.
Save the kids. The knowledge is out here for us to know what we're eating right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's save the kids, man. I mean, it's that's how I feel about it. Do the kids right. When you go to the grocery store, cook home cooked meals. Get the kids out of eating fast food and processed foods, man.
And the fast food is the worst.
Because what's going to happen, the kids are going to get sick at a younger age. By the time they're 35, 40, they're going to have chronic ailments and diseases. Just save the little 10, 11-year-old.
And let me say this.
Yes.
Your Chick-fil-A's, your Wendy's, they have thousands of ingredients in that one chicken sandwich. And Steve, in that one chicken sandwich, and none of the stuff is good.
And I'm going to repeat this. McDonald's, those fast food places, they're in the laboratory developing this food. It is addictive. There's an addictive additive in these foods. If people do their research, I've read the book called Fast Food Nation.
Right.
It's food that's being genetically modified in labs. They're putting stuff in it that addict the kids at a young age. So now they have a customer for life.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So stop eating the fast foods. Download that app. Look at what you're putting in your fridge, because it may not affect you right now, but you're talking a year, maybe a couple of years from now, however long, it's going to catch up with you if you keep eating products that's going to cause cancer, and you keep eating products that's going to cause attention deficit in your kids, and so on and so on, and allergies, and diabetes.
What? The medical industry, the doctors are waiting for you.
They're waiting for you. They're getting paid. Big pharma's getting paid. And like the doctor mentioned earlier, you can buy all this stuff, these roots. You can, get them online. You can go and you mentioned Whole Foods, I think you mentioned earlier.
You got Whole Foods, that's one of the places you can get all these roots. You can go to Tropicals Food Market in Dudley Station.
Yeah.
All of these roots are available to people.
American Food Basket as well.
Doctor, I want to thank you. I'm sorry we can't hit. I don't know what happened. I don't know how we lost you. You just all of a sudden lost your voice. But thank you very much. I'll give you a buzz. We definitely got to do it again. And thanks again, y'all. Dr. Bronte. Let's give her a nice big round.
Yep, there you go.
Thank you for all the good information. We will do it again. Folks, thank you for tuning in to R&B Talk. Now, next Tuesday, new edition, right?
Oh.
By the way, they did not get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Even though they had the most
they
votes.
had the most votes. That was the fan vote. So they didn't get in. And from what I hear, normally you don't get in on the first round anyways, but I think they're so special. They should have gotten in.
Yeah.
So we'll do it again in another year with New Edition. Hopefully they'll get in next year. But the Black Promoters Collective, the group that promoted the concert, we're going to have Troy Brown in here on Tuesday, and he's going to talk about some of the record-setting things that New Edition did during this tour and a bunch of other things. So we'll have him live on Tuesday. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll do it again. Thanks, Doctor.
Thank you. Have a nice
one.
Trying to make you mine. When I pick you up, girl, I'm good. Just shower me with your energy, girl. Get closer to my love.